So I've just arrived in Singapore and I'm outside waiting for my taxi to come pick me up. And one of the first things that I'm noticing is that all the cars look like the ones we have in the US, but with minor differences. So there'll be little things off about them, like a grill will be off or a body panel will be just a little bit shifted. And so it's kind of uncanny to look at a bunch of vehicles that you think you know, but are actually just slightly off to the point of making you second guess yourself. It's also possible that I just haven't slept in 2 days and so I'm hallucinating, but hopefully it's the former. So we're here in Singapore at the Singapore Mall and we're having Popeyes because, you know, we came here to Singapore, so we're trying to have multicultural meals. And I was eating my Popeyes and I was eating the chicken in my mouth. It was like starting to get very hot and I was trying to figure out why it was so spicy. And I realized that if you look closely, you can see they put small like peppers inside of the ketchup here that just mark tomato. So you get your tomato, you put it in your little cup, and then you eat it, but it's incredibly hot. And I just thought that was really funny. Right now we're in Chinatown in Singapore and we're on our way to the world's cheapest Michelin star restaurant. I think they've got 1 or 2 items that are Michelin star and we're gonna go check them out and see if they're any good. Alrighty, so you can get a Michelin star meal for less than a Big Mac. It is good. It's definitely the best economical rice that I've had in Singapore, but it's not gonna like blow your mind or anything. So today we're headed to Cold Storage located at Plaza Singapura, and Cold Storage is a chain of kind of Western grocery stores here in Singapore and just about the only place you can find Western foods, and that includes Europe, North America, that type of stuff. But you end up paying a premium for what you do get, and that's what I'm going to show you guys today. For example, if you're looking for some Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Lucky Charms, $10.95. Even the mac and cheese is expensive. One of the crazy things about Singapore is that everything's walking distance. So even in the middle of November, it's 85 degrees outside and you find yourself walking half a mile to the grocery store. So today we're taking an excursion to IKEA in Singapore. It's about an hour-and-a-half walk from our apartment, and Eric is from Sweden, so he goes there all the time, and so he's showing us the way, and we're gonna give you some shots of the inside and kind of show you what it looks like here. So right now we're on Orchard Road, which is basically the 5th Avenue of Singapore, except that instead of just having sort of ground level stores lining the streets, they've got 8, 9, 10-story malls with every single kind of designer brand you could think of. And this goes for probably a whole mile. Just like an unfathomable amount of stores with every single brand that you've always heard of, but never actually seen a store for. It's insane and absolutely huge. One of the crazy things about Singapore is that 1 minute it's beautiful weather, beautiful sunshine, and the next minute it's storming. So we're about halfway to IKEA and it started just pouring rain. And so now we're in a bus stop and we're trying to figure out how we're gonna get the rest of the way there. So we made it to IKEA, a little bit wet, but in one piece. We're gonna show you guys around now.
That's a good Sunday walk.
So we just finished eating some lunch. It's about the same as American IKEA, except about 3 times more expensive, but overall it was tasty. Swedish meatballs are always good, and we're gonna go check out the bottom floor and then head back to the apartment. So I've just arrived at Plaza Singapore. I took the bus here, and what I'm doing here is I'm meeting my 2 Singaporean friends, Amanda and Sarah, and they're coming to St. Louis next semester, and so they're showing me some of the cool local food here, and then when they come to St. Louis, I'm going to show them some of the food in St. Louis. So today we're going to Kaya Toast, and it's a really, really, really popular chain here, but I haven't been there yet, so I'm going to give you guys some shots of that and let you know what I think. So just got done with our food tour at Plaza Singapura. We had all kinds of really, really good stuff. The Kaya Toast was pretty good. Wasn't crazy about the Kaya, but it was alright. We also had baos down in the basement, which were delicious. They had a char siu bao that was amazing. We tried some sweet and sour chicken as well in the food court. That was really, really, really tasty. And then we went to cold storage and we bought some sweet and sour sauce so that I can make my own sweet and sour chicken back at the apartment and save money. So yeah, overall really a fun night, and I'm looking forward to cooking some of the sweet and sour chicken now that I got sauce. So today I'm down in Bukit Taman. I'm going to be going to the LDS Steak Center here. So Mom, happy birthday. This is your birthday present this year, and I'm going to get some cool shots and send them to you. It's a bit of a rainy walk today, but that's okay because it's nice and cool outside. You get to see all the green here in Singapore. Meanwhile, back home, I think it was snowing a day ago. So just got out of church here in Singapore. It was super cool. They've got 4 floors, and so they have chapels stacked on top of each other, and so they can run multiple sacrament meetings at the same time, which is really, really cool and super efficient. The first guy who spoke was the steak scribe, and he talked about doing an interview with the first convert ever in Singapore, and kind of how it's really cool that like 200 years from now his family will be able to listen to his testimony and that interview that he did with them and things like that. And then the second guy who spoke was the stake high councilman, or one of them, and he talked about serving in Rome, Italy, and he only baptized 1 guy, but the guy who he did baptize ended up being the stake president somewhere in Russia, and he ended up meeting people who had been like in that stake, which is really cool. So overall, one of the best meetings I've ever been to, and super cool ward. And yeah, if you're here, you should definitely check it out. So we just left at Delphi Mall, which is this really interesting place in downtown Singapore. It's 8 floors of the most high-end, hi-fi speaker audio stores you can think of. They've got Klipsch, Focal, all kinds of insane things. A lot of the places don't let you take pictures or video, but there's some amazing things in there, like pairs of 8-foot tall hi-fi speakers that go all the way up to the roof of the room, just mind-bogglingly expensive speakers and receivers and amplifiers. It's pretty incredible. So if you're into audio, that's the place to check out. There's also a place in there that had nothing but Transformer figures and collectibles, which was really cool to check out too. So right now we're walking to Marina Bay Sands, and we're going to show you both the Marina Bay Sands Mall and also the views from the top. Marina Bay Sands is essentially a giant hotel here in Singapore. It looks like a giant spaceship that's suspended up on stands, and it was completed in 2013, so it's super new and it's super, super expensive, but it's one of the most iconic places here in Singapore, so we absolutely have to show you guys while we're here. Mall is so fancy that not only does it have its own canal with little boats going up and down it, just cutting through the middle of the mall, it also has a 2-story Gucci that's the size of a small Walmart, to give you an idea of kind of how fancy this place is. And they have every single designer brand you've ever heard of and a bunch of ones you haven't. So Yves Saint Laurent, Fenty, all those are just normal stores here. So real quick, I'm going to give you a speedy apartment tour. It's a very small apartment, so it's going to be a very quick tour. Here we go. So we're coming into the apartment now. Give you guys a quick 180. So as you can see, that's the main entrance right there. And the room opens up. And that's the whole living room right there. Come in this way, I'll take you guys into the kitchen. So we've got oven, little sink area, and that leads into the laundry room, which I'll also show you guys just for kicks. So there you go, there's the laundry. Back there, there's kind of like a little storage area, which is where we keep like our empty suitcases and stuff until we fly back home that we're not using. So come back here into the main room. Got a little Christmas tree, keeping it festive. This is the main hallway. And coming this way, I'm walking backwards now for you guys. This is my room right here. I'll give you guys a quick tour. So it's not very big. It's maybe, I don't know, 8 feet by 8 feet in total. Got a little closet here where I keep all my stuff. There's my bed. This is my view out the window every morning, which is pretty awesome. Come back this way. This is Eric and William's room, which is right next to it, which is very similar, about the same size, but slightly different layout. Got the bathroom right here. Nothing that exciting, pretty typical bathroom. So yeah, that's it. That's the apartment. It's small, but we call it home, and we make it work with 6 people in here. That's part of the fun of living in Singapore. For our apartment here in Sunshine Plaza, we end up paying about $7,000 a month, and that's for a 3-bedroom on the top floor of the building. It's really expensive. We all have to share a room, and that's split between 6 different people, so we end up paying about $1,200 a month to live basically here in downtown Singapore. However, we do get a pretty awesome pool, and there is a little gym built into the building too, which I actually do use. And so you're paying for convenience more than anything else. If I were to come here again, I think I would look a little bit harder for maybe somewhere a little bit less expensive, but I think that in the end it's worth it because I can walk to class, I can walk to the grocery store, I can walk to all the different things I need, and I never really have to worry about, you know, taking the MRT unless I want to go somewhere that's further outside of the city. So right now I'm headed to a place called Sim Lim Mall, and what makes Sim Lim Mall cool is it's kind of old, but it's unique because it's 8 floors of nothing but little kind of mom and pop electronic shops. And so they've got every single kind of electronic shop you can think of. They've got lights, computer parts, headphones, everything you can think of. So I'm gonna give you guys some shots and show you just a few of my favorite places from Sim Lim and show you why it's one of my favorite places in all of Singapore. Alrighty, so right now I'm on the 2nd floor and I'm going to show you guys my favorite place,
maybe in all of Singapore, but definitely in this mall. It's called Zeppelin & Co. and it's a headphone cafe, and so it's a coffee shop and a high-end audiophile headphone shop put into one. So I'm going to give you guys a couple shots of that and you can let me know what you think.
Aren't super into headphones, you absolutely have to check Zeppelin & Co. out. The people there are super friendly, and they will let you try out all the different stuff and answer all your different questions. And the drinks and the little cakes they have there are amazing too. So you absolutely have to check them out. So if you're ever in Singapore and you're looking for a snack, there's 7-Elevens everywhere. Like, oftentimes there'll be 2, maybe 50 feet from each other. They're all over the place. Get one of these little sushi triangles. They're called onigiri. They're like $1.50 a piece, and they're basically little sushi triangles. So they've got the meat in the center of them, and then they've got the rice around them and the seaweed, and they're really good. And they're great if you need a little pick-me-up, then you don't just want to eat like a candy bar or something heavy like that. They're super tasty, and you can get them in a ton of different flavors. They're really good. So let's say you're in Singapore and you're hungry and you want a real meal. Well, you're probably not gonna be able to get that at 7-Eleven like you can in Japan. So what you want to look for here is a place called a hawker center. And a hawker center is kind of what we think of as a food court back in the US. They're very similar, except that here at a hawker center they share all of the same silverware and dishes and stuff like that. And so different places can serve different types of food, while they only need one person to go around and collect all the dishes, and they can basically share the same dishwashing system to save money. So Park Lane Mall is really interesting because it's about a 25% split among 4 different types of places they have there. About 25% are gaming cafes, which are really big here, where basically you pay by the hour to go play basically online video games on PCs, and so people will actually stay overnight and play through the night, and so those are really popular here. The other 25% are like these kind of sort of cheap but often really authentic Chinese and Indian food places, and they're actually not terrible food. There's a giant McDonald's on the bottom floor right next to 2 of the biggest gaming cafes, and so they get a ton of traffic. There's another 25%, which are KTV clubs, which are basically clubs you can only go to, like depending on what nationality you are, and they're kind of geared towards those people. A lot of the KTV clubs are Korean TV clubs, and so they'll have like girl dancers, but they'll be like singing songs and stuff. I haven't been to them, but I've heard that's what goes on in there. And then the other 25% are brothels, which are disguised as massage parlors, because legally the Singaporean government has a rule that you can't openly advertise as a brothel, but if you disguise it as something else, sometimes they'll let you get by, sometimes they don't. And so a lot of times a ton of police will basically show up out of nowhere and crack down and arrest a bunch of people at these places. And since we live across the street, we get to listen through all that. I'm gonna give you guys a super fast tour of SMU's campus. It's located here in downtown Singapore, so it's surrounded by all types of different places and things to do. It's very urban. It's also extremely modern, and it's extremely well designed. There's a subway kind of walkway system that actually goes underneath the whole entire SMU campus, and so if it's raining, all you have to do is just take an escalator down to the underground system, take it to whatever class or whatever building you're trying to get to, and then keep on going. It's super convenient, and I've used it a ton, especially when the weather's bad or I don't feel like walking outside when it's really hot outside. So here's a fun fact.
if you look up and behind me, you see that first window right there? So that's where my morning hour classes were every single day. And if right across the street is this little church. You can't see it because it's not exposed well, but it's called the Chimes Church. And it's actually the church that the wedding scene takes place in the movie Crazy Rich Asians. And so to give you kind of a sense where the SMU campus is, it's right in the middle of things, so much that, you know, you look out your classroom door and that's where they're shooting the set of a blockbuster movie. So it's kind of like New York in that way, where there's always something really big and important going on. And it's kind of cool because there's so much activity that you always feel like you're in the middle of it. So right now I'm in the Chinatown MRT station. I'm on my way to meet Amanda and Sarah, and we're gonna try out some food in Chinatown. I'm gonna get you guys some cool shots of not only the city, but also some of the food. Pretty good. So right now I'm inside of the People Park Center here in Chinatown in Singapore, and it's a giant 2-story food court. It's about 3 football fields long and just about as wide. There's probably 100 different little food places. This is like the ultimate Chinatown hawker center. It's huge and it has just about every single kind of Chinese food you could possibly imagine. It's awesome, and it's all super cheap. Alright, so we just got done eating ma la at the food court, and ma la basically translates to numb spicy, which is how your mouth feels when you're done eating the whole thing, but it was really good. Now we're headed to go prawning, which you guys will see in just a few seconds. So now we're inside one of the many malls in the Bugis region of the city, and I think we're still looking for a prawning place, and I think they have a place in mind they're taking me to, so I'll give you guys some shots once we get there, but it should be fun. So basically how prawning works is it's like a little tiny place, kind of like a mini golf place, except it's a bunch of pools and they're full of gigantic shrimp, which they call prawn here. And basically you pay by the hour to have a fishing rod, and you take chicken hearts as bait, and basically you fish for these giant shrimps, and so we'll let you know if we catch them. Oh my god. Alright. Oh, that's so freaky.
Yo!
That bad. Tasty.
Cute.
Oh my gosh.
I don't really know. It's hot lah. You gotta wait a while. It's hot.
Step number 1, pull off the head. There we go. Wow.
It.
Step number 2, start peeling the body.
That's right.
Okay.
How's it?
It's really chewy.
Is it cooked?
I don't know if it's cooked. So prawning was super crazy. Basically you go to this place, you fish up a bunch of these little shrimps, and then you literally skewer them alive and cook them and then eat them, like just at the place. So that was really, really crazy and definitely a unique experience. Afterwards, Sarah and Amanda took me to this really cool Chinese dessert place where they only serve Chinese desserts.
And as you guys can see from the shots, we tried some really cool stuff like some sago and some other really cool, very unique Chinese desserts. All in all, it was an awesome night, and I'm excited to explore the city more. And when they come to St. Louis, I'm going to show them some cool places as well. One of the cool things about Singapore is that it's so diverse, and so within 20 minutes of each other you can walk all the way from Chinatown or Chinese district all the way to Little India, which is where the shots you just saw were from. And it's really cool, and one of the biggest benefits of being in Singapore is just to have so many of those different unique cultural pockets all super close to each other within walking distance. Little India especially is really cool because it's like a big maze, and so it's super easy to get lost in, but you run across all these local shops. And one of the things that I can't really convey through this video are the smells in all the different places that I visit. And so everywhere I go, there's a unique scent that kind of flows through the area and makes it unique, and that's something that you can't really experience anywhere else. Little India especially has this really kind of amazing incense just floating through the air, and it gives it a really unique quality compared to even all the other places that I've been to. So right now I'm in Clarke Quay, which is a district that kind of runs along the Singapore River in kind of downtown Singapore. And basically this is the bar slash club slash restaurant hub of the whole entire city, basically. So if you're going out while you're in Singapore, there's a 99% chance that you're going to end up here at some point during the night. And what's really cool is there's such a wide range of different restaurants and places to go to that you could go to a different place every single night for a year, and you probably never repeat a place just because there's so many places here. It also helps that you're right here on the river, and so one of the cool things you can do is you can hop on one of these little boats and they'll take you up and down the Singapore River. And in the evening, kind of when the sun's coming down like right now, and it's cooled down a little bit, it's one of the most beautiful sights in all of Singapore. So today, all the guys from the apartment are going to check out this ramen place that Patrick suggested to us. And apparently this place is super popular and there's going to be a huge wait, and it's supposed to be really good. So I'm really excited because I'm looking for something to remind me kind of what I had in Japan in Kyoto, our first night there. So I'll give you some shots and keep you posted with how it tastes.
It's a fun activity for the whole family. Did you try it?
No, I'm so bad. I hate it.
You're on TV.
I'll edit it up and I'll make it sound really good.
We're live in
Just be like, we're at this place and they serve ramen, and you fill out a sheet before you go in because there's only like 10 seats in here.
See, you do that perfectly.
Alright, so the name of the place is Kontatsu Ramen, and it's so popular that you fill out a sheet before you go in and you order your food before you even go inside. And they only serve like 3 things, and you choose what toppings and stuff you want on it. And so we all got different variations of soda. I got a cherry Japanese soda. They got wasabi soda, and so, oh also, and you grind these little seeds and stuff. We're not really sure what you do with them, but you probably put them in your ramen. We're gonna put them in and see if it still tastes good. So we just got out of the ramen place, and me and William and everyone else both agree, here's Patrick, we all agree that, or me and William at least, that it was definitely on par and it was as good as the stuff we had in Japan. It was super good. So if you're ever here in Singapore, that's the place to go, and they have a chain, so they have a couple different locations in Singapore, but delicious ramen, super filling, and you even get free hard-boiled eggs and bean sprouts and all kinds of extra stuff. It's like a Five Guys, except it's ramen. So, must-go place. So unfortunately, my time here in Singapore has come to an end. I've got 2 finals left that I'm gonna take, and I have less than a week left here in Singapore before I fly home. So I'm gonna wrap up this video with a brief reflection of kind of key takeaways about studying abroad in Singapore. The first thing is, there is so much good food here. And so for the rest of this video, instead of looking at my face, I'm gonna include as many different pictures of different food that I ate while I was here. So the food here is everything you've heard it to be. It's amazing, and if you have enough money, you can eat food from anywhere on the planet here in Singapore. They've got everything you could possibly think of. That brings me to my next point. Singapore is extremely expensive, and so the reason why I said the last part with if you have enough money is because everything here has to be imported, and so it comes at a premium. And so things we kind of take for granted at home, like cheap pizza, cheap cheeseburgers, that doesn't exist here. A Big Mac is close to $10. Pizza, a Domino's medium-sized pizza, they run about $22 a piece before delivery and all kinds of that stuff. And so little things you kind of take for granted in the US, like being able to just get cheap food and, you know, cheap fruit and vegetables and things like that, you can't get that here. You can't get fruit and vegetables and things like that for anywhere near a reasonable price. Just about the only things that are really cheap here in Singapore are things like rice, and I mean, that's about it. Ramen is cheap, but it's cheap everywhere. And so if you live here, you have to be prepared to pay a premium on everything that you experience and everything that you buy while you're here, because nothing comes cheap. Some things are about the same as they are in the US, but the truth is that a lot of things are astronomically even more expensive. And I mean, we're just visitors here as exchange students, and even for the short duration we've been here, we've kind of seen some of the effects that being on a budget in a very expensive city can bring. So if you come here, be prepared to spend a lot of money, budget way more than you think you're gonna need. And if ultimately your goal is to have an extremely cheap Asian kind of living, study abroad experience, Singapore might not be the best place to go. However, there are a few things that Singapore is very, very good at. The first one being diversity. Because of where Singapore is located and because it's such a finance and business hub, you have so many people from different countries and cultures being represented here. I mean, this has got to be probably the most diverse city that I've ever been to in my entire life. It's incredible. And what that means is that, like you've seen previously in the video, you can walk from Little India to Chinatown to downtown to, you know, basically anywhere you want to go and experience all these different cultures in such a short time span, because they're all so close to each other and so kind of intermingled. And that's really cool, and that's something that you just can't replicate anywhere else. It's truly authentic here, and it's truly something to be experienced, and that's a really, really good reason to come here to Singapore. Another good reason to come here to Singapore is its location and Changi Airport. Because of Changi Airport and because of Singapore's location, you can travel all across Southeast Asia from here relatively easily and relatively safely. Not all airports are created equally, and Changi Airport has frequently been rated the best airport in the whole world. Changi Airport runs a lot of flights out of Changi Airport. It's a massive airport, and so there's always going to be a flight going to where you want to go, and there's always going to be fairly cheap, competitive rates for those flights and for those locations. So really, if you're studying abroad, you kind of want to travel and see the world. Singapore is a great place as kind of a home base because it's safe, it's consistent, and you can always go from here to wherever else you want to go with relative ease. The last thing that I've kind of taken away from my time studying abroad is that there's a lot of things, and I kind of touched on this before, but there's a lot of things that, and this is cliche, there are things that you take for granted until you don't have them anymore. For example, I was FaceTiming my family on Thanksgiving, and I realized it was the first Thanksgiving in my whole life that I hadn't spent with my family and all my extended family, because every year we get together for Thanksgiving. And that kind of struck me, and I realized that as cool as it is to be abroad, things like family are things that you can't replicate anywhere else. And so it's definitely given me a greater appreciation for being at home, being in the Midwest. Although it's not very exciting in Missouri, it is home, and it's part of my identity. And I think that it's good to travel, and I think it's good to see different cultures and different ways of life, because it gives you a greater appreciation for yours, and it also shows you perhaps where you can improve on your way of life and kind of have better understanding of the world and kind of how it operates around you. So those are my takeaways. I've really enjoyed my time in Singapore, and I hope that everyone who's watched these seriously consider studying abroad. This has really obviously been a life-changing experience for me. If you guys have watched any of my previous videos, you know that as well. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who made this possible. Thank you to my parents. Thank you to Umzul, and thank you to the people who continue to do videos with me, because that's part of how I funded my travels here. And until next time, I'll see you guys.